Windows Autopatch is a cloud-based service that allows you to patch your Windows devices right from within Microsoft 365. And the best news? Autopatch is now available in Microsoft 365 Business Premium. What a time to be alive. In today's video, we're going to talk all about patching. And of course, I'm going to give you a full demo of Windows Autopatch. But before all of that, let's have a quick introduction. My name is Jonathan Edwards, also known as the Bearded 365 Guy. I help businesses all over the world with their Microsoft 365. You can find more information at bearded365guy.com. Now, software patching is really important. When people think about software patching, they naturally think it's a cybersecurity thing. And that's true. But we patch our software for a variety of reasons. We patch our software to provide new features in our software programs. We patch our software to fix software bugs. And then, of course, there is the security. Security holes are sometimes identified in our software applications, so a patch fixes it. So, what needs patching? Well, let's first talk about the Microsoft world. We've, of course, got our Windows operating system, so maybe Windows 10 or Windows 11. Hopefully, not Windows 7. And then we've got the Microsoft 365 apps, things like Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And then we've got our Edge browser. And of course, we've got things like Microsoft Teams. That makes up the Microsoft world. But then we use other pieces of software as well, things like Google Chrome and 7-Zip. These are known as third-party applications, but they all need patching. Now, an issue that you might be aware of when it comes to patching is sometimes a patch can actually break something, not on purpose. We patch a whole load of computers in our business, and suddenly, none of them work. So we need a bit of a patching strategy. Now, the best advice is just to patch a few at a time. And if nothing happens, patch a few more. And then if everything is still okay, patch a few more. And so on until all the computers in our business are fully up to date. Now, in order to patch the computers in our business, we're going to need some kind of tool. This tool ideally should be cloud-based. And we should be able to see all of our devices in one place and manage all of our patches in that same place. Now, Microsoft do have a solution, and it's called Autopatch. Now, Autopatch isn't a new product, but the exciting news is, as of April 2025, Microsoft have now included Autopatch in Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So it's included in the price that you already pay for your license. This is exciting. Now, I'm sure you want to see Autopatch in action, and we'll get onto the demo shortly. But the first thing you want to do in your business is think about how you want to patch your devices. Now, I mentioned earlier the need to patch a couple of devices first, see how it goes, and then have a plan to patch the rest. Indeed, Autopatch won't let you patch all of the devices at once. Now, you need to think of your own patching strategy. Now, if you've got a small business, maybe you've got 20 or 30 computers, this can be quite simple. Maybe you'd patch the IT team's computers first. They might have 2 or 3 computers. And if everything went okay, you might then patch the remaining 20 to 30 PCs. This would be a very simple and effective strategy. But what if your business has 250 computers? You're going to have to think about your patching strategy a little bit more. Now, Windows Autopatch uses Entra ID device groups in order to patch your devices. So let's think of a bit more of a working example. Your business has got 250 devices, and we're thinking, how are we going to patch these devices? Firstly, we've got an executive team, and believe me, we don't want to upset them. And then we've got a finance team, and we don't want to upset them either. But then we've got an IT team. Now, I know that IT people are quite happy to receive patches anytime, any day. In fact, I think they quite enjoy it. And then we've got a customer services team, and they're just, well, indifferent. So the first part of our demo, let's create some Entra ID groups that we're going to use with our Autopatch. Let's go. Okay, I'm in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And what I want to do is click down here, Show All, go down to Admin Centers. And to begin with, I'm going to go into Identity. Okay, once that has launched, I'm just going to go to Devices and go to All Devices. Now you can see this is just a test tenant, so everything here is fairly clean. We've got 4 devices, one belonging to the customer service department, one belonging to finance, one belonging to IT, and one belonging to the executive department. Now, I realize in real life, your devices, your business, your Microsoft 365 tenancy isn't going to be as straightforward or clean as this, but this video hopefully just gives you the theory. So there are devices. What I want to do now is start creating some groups that these devices can sit inside. So I'm going to go to Groups and I'm going to go to All Groups. I'm now going to create a new group. It's going to be a security group and I'm going to give this group a name. So this group is going to be called Autopatch Test. Then I'll enter a description. So there's my description. All the devices in this group are the ones that were going to be used to test the patches. So kind of the first rollout. And then we go on to membership type. Okay, I'll click on the drop down here. So we've got 3 types of membership type. This can be an assigned group. Now, if it's an assigned group, it's just a group. It's a manual group, which I have to put devices into manually. Okay. Now, you can also choose dynamic device group. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, I've gone through dynamic device groups. What we essentially have to do is create dynamic queries, so devices automatically go into this group depending on certain attributes, okay? But I'm going to leave this one as an assigned group, okay? I will select myself as the owner, okay? And then I will create this group. I'm then going to create another group. Again, it's a security group. And again, I'll give it a name, Autopatch Executive. So this group will contain all the devices that belong to our executives. Okay, again, I'm going to leave this as assigned, but you can do clever things with dynamic groups. I'll select myself as the owner, and then I'll create this group. I'm also going to create 2 more groups, one for the finance team and one for the customer services team. So I'll do that now. I won't keep you waiting. And I'll spin right back. Okay, I've created those 4 groups now. So we've got Autopatch, Customer Services, Executive, Finance, and Test. The next thing I need to do is add my devices into these groups. So if I just go back to my devices now, we've got 4 devices. So our IT team are going to go into the Test group. Customer Service then in Customer Service, Finance in Finance, etc. Okay, so if I go back to Groups, start off with the test, go to members, add member, add my IT PC1, and that has been added. So refresh that and it's there. Just to prove it again, go back to executive this time, go to members, add member, executive PC1, refresh, and that is there. So I'll just add those other 2 PCs to their respective groups. Okay, that's the final one I'm doing. So I've got my customer service PC in my Autopatch customer service device group. So what do we do next? So the next part of our demo is we're going to configure an Autopatch group. Now, this is the first thing that we need to do. Now, you can have up to 300 Autopatch groups in your Microsoft Intune. In my example, I'm going to use just 1. And I think 1 is enough for most small businesses. So let me show you how to do that right now. Okay, I'm back in my test tenancy and I'm in Microsoft Intune. Now, this tenancy is a brand new tenancy. I've not had to enable anything when it comes to Autopatch, okay? This tenancy is about maybe 2 weeks old. To show you Autopatch, if I just go to Tenant Administration, you can see here, look, I've got a setting called Windows Autopatch. And in here, we can look at the Autopatch groups. And what it's asking me to do is to go ahead and create an Autopatch group. Now, because this is about Windows updates, I can also go to devices and I can go down to manage updates and I can go to Windows updates. And it comes here, and what's happening? I'm asked to create an Autopatch group. So I can do that from either area. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create an Autopatch group. The first thing I need to put in is a name. So maybe something like this, Our Business Autopatch. Okay. The next thing I do is I go on to deployment rings. Firstly, what's a deployment ring? Well, a deployment ring is kind of a mechanism to roll out software updates in a phased manner. So what Autopatch does is it creates two default deployment rings. It creates one called test and one called last. Now, what these mean is we add a group to this ring, okay, an Entra group. And this group will be used as kind of a test bed to roll out some updates. Then we add another group to the last deployment ring, and these updates will be rolled out a few days later. Okay. Now, if you've got a really small business, maybe 10, 20, 30 computers, then you might just be happy with these two deployment rings. You might not need to do anything else and create any further deployment rings. This might work for you. But just to show you a little bit about how this works, I am going to add a few more deployment rings. So the first one, the test one. So we discussed earlier, we want that IT team to test the patches, and we create a group for that. So I click on here and I add a group to this ring. And I'm going to add the Autopatch test group. Okay, there we go. It's said here, there's about one device in that group. Following this, maybe I want to roll this out to the customer service team. Okay, so here we go, ring one. I add a group to this ring. I'll choose Autopatch customer service. Okay, let me add another deployment ring. And this time we're going to push it out to the finance team. So I'll put them in there. And then lastly, once I know our IT team, our customer service team, our finance team are all happy, then I'm quite happy to push this out to the executive team. Okay. So this could be an ideal deployment ring design for your business. You could have a deployment ring for certain offices, certain countries. It really depends how your business is set up. But there's also another way. Now let me just delete these deployment rings here. Okay. So let me go and add a couple more deployment rings here. Now it says here, look, this ring must contain an assigned or a dynamic group. So we click here to assign a group. But there's also a tab up here, look, dynamic group distribution. So what I would do here is I would add the customer service and the finance team into there. And then what it says is dynamic group distribution percentages must add up to 100%. Okay. So what I could do here, I could click on here and I can put 10% in there. I could click on here and I could put 90% in there. So what it's going to do now, ring one's going to come about and it's going to distribute the patches to 10% of the devices in all the groups that are listed here. And once we're happy with that, it will distribute the updates to the remaining 90% of all the groups that we have here. So it's a bit more random. It's a bit more dynamic, as the name suggests. So that is another way we can do it. Okay. I will now go on to next. It's going to ask us to confirm what kind of updates we want Autopatch to use. And I'm going to select all these. So we've got feature updates, driver updates, quality updates. We want to update Microsoft 365 apps and Edge. Okay. Go on to deployment settings. Okay, the first section here, feature update. So if the device is running an earlier OS version than the target version, an update will kick in straight away. So our target version here is the latest Windows 11 version. We've also got an option here, look, when a device isn't eligible to run Windows 11, install the latest Windows 10 feature update. Okay, so it depends what your environment looks like. If you're running Windows 11, it's a good idea to leave this as it is so we get the latest and greatest. Now we've got driver updates. I know some people sometimes are a bit concerned about driver updates being pushed out. I'm not, rightly or wrongly, so I'm going to use the same approval method for all deployment rings. Or what you can do is use a different one, and you can go into this manually review and approve type of thing for different groups. So you could click on here. You could automatically approve the driver updates for our test, and then you could go on to manually there. That is up to you, but we're going to keep them the same across all deployment rings. Again, it's confirming what it will do to Microsoft 365 apps. And then we go on to Edge as well. So in this example, it's going to have the beta version on our test group and then the stable versions on the remaining groups. Go on to Schedule. So the first thing here, Windows Update Installation, Reboot and Notification. So again, at the moment, in all our deployment rings, we've got it so everything automatically installs and restarts. Now, we spoke here about our executive team. They might not appreciate that. So you can change that here. You can also turn off notifications so people aren't bothered. It's up to you. It's very flexible what you can do. Okay, and then we've got quality and driver updates. We've got feature updates, and we've got Microsoft 365 app updates. Now, there's quite a bit of terminology on all these. The word deferral appears everywhere. We've got deadlines, and we've got grace periods. So what do all these mean? Well, let's start with the word deferral. So in Windows Autopatch, a deferral refers to delaying the deployment of updates to devices for a specific period after the update is released. Okay? So when it comes to this example here, so our test one, the client update deferral is 0 days. So it's basically getting installed as soon as it's released. Okay, we're then looking at ring 1, ring 2. You can see that's 9 days, 5 days, and 9 days. You might wonder why ring 1 is 9 days and ring 2 is 5 days. I think these are kind of swapped around, so it makes it a bit more random, I think. Also here with the feature updates, deferral 0 days, and we've got deadlines as well. So what does deadline mean? That takes us on to the next thing here. So a deadline, it's a setting that determines when an update must be installed on the device, even if the user hasn't chose to install it yet. Okay, so going back to this one here, that's going to be offered as soon as it is released, and the user has a day deadline to install it. Okay, then we go on to grace period. So what does that mean? Well, after the deadline has passed, there's also a grace period. And that's a time window when the device will force the update, installation, and restart, even if it's during the working day for the user. Okay, so let's take a look at this one here. So an update gets released. It's not going to be offered to the PC for 9 days. Okay, the user then has a deadline of 5 days to get it installed. And after those 5 days, they've got a grace period of 2 days. And after that, it's getting installed. Okay, so that kind of answers a lot of things here, but you can see at the end of everything here there's an edit, so you can basically go in and edit these settings, so you can really adjust them for your business. Personally, I think most businesses, we can just accept the defaults. Okay, but it's up to you. Click on next, and this just gives us a summary of what we've chosen. Okay, click on create, and our Autopatch group will be created. So let's just have a quick look at what's happened here. So we've got some releases here, and we can click into any of these. So this is Windows 11, the latest version of Windows 11. You can see the deployment status there. What has happened here? Look, if we go and click on the drop down, Autopatch has created all these groups for us. Now, if you're used to working with update rings in Microsoft 365, then you will recognize these. But what Autopatch has done is kind of automated all this for us. So we can click into any of these and you can see exactly the settings that Autopatch has created. So they just made it that a little bit easier for us. Also, it's created this feature update policy as well. Again, I've not done anything there. Autopatch has created it. So it's just device patching made easy. Driver updates as well. We've got a load of those here. And if you've selected the manual way to approve them, you can see here you would review them there. So that is what Autopatch has done. What we're going to talk about next. So that was all pretty easy, wasn't it? Now to talk about a brand new technology that was announced last year at Microsoft Ignite, and that is called Hotpatching. So what's Hotpatching? Well, one of the biggest frustrations with patching for both IT people and users is that IT people have to install these patches and then reboot the computers. This is just sometimes really inconvenient for end users. So here's Hotpatching. It means that with Microsoft quality updates, we can install these without the need to reboot the PC. I mean, this is fantastic news for both IT users and end users. Let me show you how to set that up in Autopatch. So we're in Intune. If we go back to Devices and go to Manage Updates, Windows Updates. We looked at these in the last part of the video. You can see that Autopatch has created policies in all of these. But if I go to Quality Updates, there's nothing there. So what I need to do is I need to create a policy for our quality updates. Now, a quality update includes security fixes, non-security fixes, lots of different things. Okay. Now I can give this a name. My Business Quality Update Policy, click on Next. And here's the exciting thing. So apply the latest quality updates for security. Absolutely yes. When available, apply without restarting the device. That is known as Hotpatching. And we're going to allow that. So these updates will install for the user and the user won't have to restart their device. Okay, that is fantastic. Click on Next. Now, who do we want to target this policy at? We can add our groups. Remember earlier in the video. So I would target these at our groups like so. Select those. Click on Next and create that policy. Okay, so we've got a quality update policy as well. So you've seen how easy it is to create an Autopatch group in Microsoft 365 and manage all of your patching. The next step is the devices will start to register with the Autopatch service. Now this can take a couple of hours. Now let's just hop back to my screen again and I'll have a look at those devices and what's happened after a couple of hours. Okay, now we've created our Autopatch groups and settings. Let's just take a quick look around. So I'm back in Intune. If I go to Tenant Administration and go down to Autopatch groups, this just gives us a summary of all our Autopatch groups. Obviously, I've just got one, but we can see there's 4 deployment rings. We know about those. And now we've got 4 devices registered. We can also look at the Entra groups, and this just summarizes exactly what we set up. So we assigned the test and the executive, and then we use a dynamic group distribution for these 2 groups here, if you remember earlier in the video. Okay, messages here. These are not specific to our tenancy. These are just general messages that you can get caught up with if you want more information on certain things. Okay, but let's now head over to devices. And we can see here, look, Windows Autopatch devices. And it says here we've got 4 ready. So now I can now click into here. And at the top it says these devices are registered and managed by Autopatch. And this is the page that gives us a nice summary of all our devices. So the device name, the update status. So you can see we've got some devices that are up to date, others are not up to date. The Autopatch readiness, they're all ready, and then it summarizes what Autopatch group these devices are in. So remember, you might have different Autopatch groups within your tenancy, and it also says what deployment ring is in place and the last check-in, and these are all just virtual machines in Hyper-V. Okay, what you can also do, you can go to Discover Devices. Scan Autopatch groups to register devices for recently added members, okay? So you can force that if you want by clicking on there. I think the Autopatch service actually runs every hour anyway, okay? But you can force that there. And then at the top, there's a not registered. So these are devices that are not managed by Autopatch or maybe have been excluded. Now, just as a word, the device has to be in Intune for you to utilize Autopatch. So that's it. So this is the page where you would see all the devices and all the update status, etc., etc. This is where you monitor everything, okay? And what you can also do is you can click into these and it tells you exactly what the status is. So that's Autopatch. So that's the demo. But before I leave you today, there are a couple of other things that I want to talk about. Obviously, Autopatch covers the Microsoft stuff. Operating system, Microsoft 365 apps, Edge, and Microsoft Teams. I've previously mentioned we obviously use other bits of software, Adobe, Google Chrome, Firefox, 7-Zip, and all of this software also needs to be patched. Now, Microsoft don't offer a solution for third-party patching, and I don't think they ever will. I just don't think it's an area they want to get involved with. So how do you patch your third-party applications? Well, I've done a few videos on my channel all about cost-effective services that you can buy that integrate with Intune. That means you can install third-party applications and get them patched. So if you've not seen those videos, then please check them out. Secondly, my advice is to start using Autopatch. So I've got an MSP and we look after lots of different customers all over the world. And over the coming months, we'll be migrating all of those customers over to Autopatch. Now, you might use an RMM system or you might use the update rings already in Microsoft 365. So you're gonna have to plan that migration carefully. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and I look forward to seeing you again soon.